In the first part, Mason Podius tells us that he didn't really know what he wanted to do with his life. He just went along with what most people do and wanted the same things they did. This led him to make some quick decisions. Mason then joined the military to become a Special Forces soldier, even though he only had 1 year left of law school. Finally, he felt like he had found his true calling, something that made him really happy. He got married to Jenny, and they had a daughter named Casey. But things took a turn when Mason went on a mission to take down a guy named Van Aus. Not only did Mason lose his sense of purpose in life during that mission, but he also lost some of his fellow soldiers. After leaving the military, Mason decided to become a lawyer, even though he hadn't finished law school. Now in the present, Mason is taking his daughter Casey to school. On the way, Casey tells him about another kid who keeps trying to kiss her. Mason tells her to punch the kid in the throat if he tries it again. Once he drops Casey off, Mason's office gets a visit from an old friend named Sebastian Earle. Sebastian runs a company called Contracted Defense Initiatives, or CDI for short. He wants Mason to provide security for a journalist named Claire Wellington, who's going for an important interview with Ponya President Van Aus. Mason remembers Van Aus as the guy they were after when he lost his comrades. He's not sure he wants to do it, but when Sebastian offers a lot of money, Mason eventually agrees. When Mason gets back home later that day, he finds out that Casey got in trouble at school. She punched the boy who tried to kiss her in the throat, and the principal called Jenny in. This leads to an argument between Mason and Jenny, making their already shaky marriage even worse. Jenny gets worried when she hears about the job offer from Sebastian, but in the end, she decides to let Mason go, thinking maybe it's what he needs to fix himself and find happiness again. Mason meets a journalist named Claire Wellington, and after they introduce themselves, they head straight to the airport. Claire tells Mason that his job is to protect her, no matter what happens. When they arrive, Van Aus greets Claire with a kiss on the cheek, while Mason gets thoroughly checked by Van Aus's security team. As they ride in Van Aus's car, Mason is surprised to find out that Van Aus knows about his past as a soldier. Suddenly, while they're crossing a bridge, the security car in front of them explodes, and they're attacked by rebels who want to kill Van Aus. What's happening? Mason stays. Mason walks over to the wrecked security car and grabs a big revolver. Van Aus asks Mason to help protect him and his people, realizing it's a planned coup, but Mason refuses, saying it's Van Aus's own people who tried to kill him. Mason and Claire then head into the bushes to rest, with Van Aus following shortly after. Mason calls Sebastian for help, and Sebastian promises to send a helicopter to their location. Van Aus wants to use the phone next, but Mason says no. Van Aus threatens to arrest Mason for being a foreign spy, but Mason pulls out a gun and threatens him back. Claire steps in and convinces Mason to help Van Aus. Van Aus calls his nephew George, who's surprised to hear that Van Aus is still alive. Van Aus knows he's the one behind the coup and assures everyone he's fine. Claire is shocked to learn that Van Aus's own nephew is working with the rebels, but Van Aus explains that Jorge is being used because he's not very smart. Van Aus asks Mason and Claire to help him protect his people, but Mason walks away, with Claire following, leaving Van Aus alone. Claire tries to get Mason to help so she can report everything, but Mason is firm about not helping Van Aus. Claire wonders why Mason seems angry with Van Aus. When Mason sees the chopper leaving after dropping off 2 shooters, he realizes they're not coming back to help them. The gunmen chase them while the chopper shoots at them. They finally stop in a clearing near a fallen tree, and Mason sets up a sniper to wait for the helicopter. Meanwhile, Claire stands back and records everything. Mason successfully shoots the pilot, and they run into the woods just as the chopper crashes. Claire keeps running until she realizes she's lost Mason. She calls out for him but is met by the 2 gunmen. She hides behind a tree, holding onto a branch, waiting silently for one of the rebels to come closer. Suddenly, Mason shows up unexpectedly and fights one of the rebels. Claire watches as Mason chokes the rebel to death. She comes out of her hiding spot as Mason faces her, but a rebel hits him on the head. Van Aus shows up and shoots the rebel. Meanwhile, Mason's group is stranded by the river, taking a break. Claire talks to Mason to start a conversation and finds out about his recent mission. While Mason's group rests, Jorge and his crew inspect the crashed chopper. Colonel John arrives in a car and scolds Jorge for failing to kill Van Aus. He kills one of Jorge's soldiers, and Jorge vows to make things right. Mason tells Claire about a previous plane crash in the same area where he lost his comrades. After a short break, Van Aus leads Mason and Claire to a village and introduces them to the village chief and Pino. the chief's son-in-law. They decide to stay in the village overnight. Van and Claire plan to do an exclusive interview. After showering during their conversation, they talk about Van assassination attempt. He explains why he thinks companies are behind it. Outsiders have been taking advantage of Ponya's land and minerals, making billions of dollars. Recently, a valuable mineral called lanthanides was discovered in Ponya. Lanthanides are rare earth metals crucial for new technologies, and businesses are eager to exploit this new resource. But Van refused to let them, which is why they want him dead. As Mason films the interview, he starts to realize that Van might not be as bad as he thought. The next morning, Mason wakes Claire up and tells her they need to leave. Claire hesitates because she wants to hear the full story of the Punyan insurrection. When Van comes in, he encourages Mason to stay and learn the truth. He hints that he knows why Mason was assigned to protect Claire. Mason calls Sebastian, who reveals that he was ordered to send someone to kill Van Sebastian thought Mason might also want to kill Van because he lost his comrades because of him. Without saying anything, Mason hangs up. He then calls Jenny at home, expressing his love and gratitude to her. Jenny asks him to come home safely. With his gun in hand, Mason approaches Van who is with Claire. Instead of shooting him, Mason walks past them, gathers his things, and tells Claire they're leaving. When Colonel Jan and his troops show up, the group runs away. As the rebels attack the village, Van comes out of hiding. Meanwhile, Claire convinces Mason to help Van because she knows the colonel will likely harm the villagers after killing Van Mason grabs Van and they ride away on horseback to escape the insurgents. They manage to get away, but Claire gets caught. Realizing they can't take on Colonel Jan and his rebels alone, Mason and Van decide to first focus on rescuing Claire. They spend the night in a church before meeting with Van trusted friend Bobby to ask for his help. The next day, Mason talks to Bobby before heading out to meet Colonel Jan, while Van stays hidden. Mason and Colonel Jan face off in the middle of a quiet village, guns pointed at each other. One of Colonel Jan's rebels forces Claire down and aims a gun at her head. Colonel Jan threatens to kill Mason if he doesn't hand over Van Mason pleads for Van to come out, and he does, along with a crowd of civilians who surround Colonel Jan's men. With Colonel Jan and his troops surrounded and helpless, the three of them easily slip away using a secret exit. They sneak into Van office in the palace where Jorge is, while Claire records everything. Van talks to Jorge, warning him that the rebels will likely get rid of him once they get what they want. He offers to help Jorge escape from the rebels, and they hug. When General Martinez enters the room, Van tries to talk to him politely, but the general pulls out a gun and shoots Van Mason protects Claire while Van takes out his rifle and shoots General Martinez. After the general is dead, Mason helps Van up, and Van removes a bullet from his suit, revealing he's wearing a bulletproof vest. Their relief doesn't last long, though, as they find out Jorge has been shot. Van holds Jorge and cries as his nephew dies in his arms. Ponya troops burst into the room, aiming their rifles at Van Van talks to them, telling them he's not their enemy and that he wants to help his people too. Colonel Jan's rebels move closer, standing behind the Ponya soldiers. As Van finishes speaking, he nods toward the rebels, and the Ponya soldiers turn around, firing at the rebels. Mason, Claire, and Van take cover behind a desk, with Claire still recording everything. A fight breaks out in the palace, and Mason makes sure to protect Claire and Van Colonel Jan and one of his men chase after them while the Ponya soldiers battle the rebels. Mason tells Van and Claire to go ahead while he stays behind to fight Colonel Jan. Colonel Jan pins Mason to the ground, and Mason realizes that it was Colonel Jan, not Van who killed his friends. As Colonel Jan tries to stab him, Mason fights back, but he's overpowered. Just when it seems like Colonel Jan might win, Claire arrives and knocks him out. Together, Mason and Claire join Van and the Ponya soldiers, who are outnumbered by the rebels. Mason grabs a gun and starts shooting at the insurgents, trying to turn the tide of the battle. Meanwhile, Claire keeps recording, and Van watches in amazement at Mason's courage. Sebastian and his men drive through the gate and join Mason and the Ponya soldiers in defeating the retreating rebels. With the war over, Claire reveals the whole truth about Van and Ponya to the world. The palace is restored, and Van gets the chance to share his story with the world. Before the interview, Van thanks Claire and Mason for their help, especially Claire for bringing the truth to light. The interview starts, broadcasted worldwide. Mason returns home from his work in Ponya, and is warmly welcomed by his wife and daughter. One day, Mason gets a text from Van Aus saying he's sent him a surprise. When Mason checks, he finds a big sum of money transferred to his bank account. Smiling, he heads back to his car where his wife and daughter are waiting. He invites them to spend the rest of the day enjoying their happy family. Thanks for watching. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps like these.